the world. You can do it. The time is now. Let's get to it. Just believe. Just believe. Just believe.
In an ever-changing world, Life Changes Network presents the authentically entertaining voice of truth and inspiration. This is Life Changes with Filippo, with the always unforgettable, ever insightful conversations that captivate our fascination and insatiability for the inspiring moments of real-life journeys, as we, as one, strive for higher planes of existence and a better understanding of our true selves and the world in which we live. Always remembering, life changes. This is radio like you've never felt before. Good for all and all for good. And now your host, the MC, the master of change, Filippo Voltaggio.
Change the world. Change the world. You can do it. You can do it. Time is now. Time is now.
The time is now, indeed, and right now it's the time to have our guest, Hanala Sagal, on. This is Filippo on Life Changes with Filippo. Hanala Sagal, our guest today, is an actor, an author, a comedian, an addiction expert, and a TV host. Her message: you can be fabulous at any age, regardless of your past. Actually, she has many messages, and that's just one of the fabulous ones. Canadian-born Hanala Sagal has guest starred on HBO's Hung. I'm going to have to talk to her off the air about that one. Canadian-born Hanala Sagal has guest starred on HBO's Hung, Showbiz Tonight, Extra, A&E's Biography, the CBS Early Show, ABC Home Show, Dateline. I could go on, actually. And countless radio shows and live stage performances. See, she's fabulous. Currently, you can catch Hanala on Millionaire, Matchmaker and RuPaul's Drag You. Before marriage and going back to her roots, Hanala entertained and informed cable viewers over a decade as Suzan Stadner. So you might know her as that, with the hit show Shape Up LA. Hanala has also been in a number of films, appearing as herself, as well as performing in various acting roles as fictional characters. Actually, she's got something coming up, Elvis and Nixon. Currently in pre-production, marks Hanala's debut as a screenwriter and executive producer. Now, her critically acclaimed memoir, I love this, listen to this. My parents went through the Holocaust, and all I got was this lousy shirt. Depicts Hanala's recovery from secondary trauma and self-destruction. The award-winning writer describes growing up with Holocaust-surviving, traumatized narcissists. Quote, if my mother wasn't cold, I didn't need a sweater, end quote. I'm sure a lot of you can relate with that. The well-known, much-loved TV personality is regularly called on to share her transformative story with her trademark wit and wisdom. Now, we're going to get a taste of that when we come back here on Life Changes with Filippo. I am Filippo, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too.
Clean water is not enough. Reverse osmosis, distilled water, and most bottled waters are devoid of naturally occurring minerals. They are acidic, unstructured, and hard to absorb and rob minerals from the body. IonWay's ionizers produce a superabundant supply of powerful antioxidants in each glass. Ionized water has a reduced molecular cluster size and a negative charge, hydrating you up to 6 times better. Water from an IonWay's ionizer will help you restore your body to its natural pH balance, boosting your vitality. And ionized water more effectively flushes acidic toxins from within your body. Drink the healthiest water available today. IonWay's water systems, their water changes everything. To learn more about IonWay's water systems and how you can own one today, visit our website at lifechangeswithfilippo.com and click on our sponsor page.
True performance takes more than just working out. Every day we demand more from our body. But what does your body demand? Hunger is not your body's call for empty calories. It's your body asking for nutrients it's lacking. It's time to reward your body with Boku Superfood, made from the world's finest organic ingredients, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and essential trace nutrients, all developed naturally and organically from nature's most nutrient-dense foods. Boku Superfood is quite possibly the best thing you can feed your body. So listen to your body. Reward it with pure, raw, beautiful food. Boku Superfood.
What is the one thing that every man, woman, and child have in common? Life changes. Are you experiencing change at home, at work, at school, or in other areas of your life? Are you looking to make a change, maybe a new job or place to live? How about getting in on a conversation that matters? Join host Filippo on the top-rated BBS Radio Network show Life Changes with Filippo, live every Monday night at 7 p.m. For more information, visit lifechangeswithfilippo.com. That's Filippo, Filippo.com.
That sure is, and actually this is Filippo on Life Changes with Filippo here on the BBS Radio Network, and I have a short story I want to relate with you all today. One day, a teacher asked her students to list the names of the other students in the room on 2 sheets of paper, leaving a space between each name. Then she told them to think of the nicest thing they could say about each of their classmates and write it down. It took the remainder of the class period to finish their assignment, and as the students left the room, each one handed in the papers. That Saturday, the teacher wrote down the name of each student on a separate sheet of paper and listed what everyone else had said about that individual. On Monday, she gave each student his or her list. Before long, the entire class was smiling. "Really?" she heard whispered. "I never knew that I meant anything to anyone. And I didn't know others liked me so much," were most of the comments. No one ever mentioned those papers in class again. She never knew if they discussed them after class or with their parents, but it didn't matter. The exercise had accomplished its purpose. The students were happy with themselves and one another. That group of students moved on. Several years later, one of the students was killed in Vietnam, and his teacher attended the funeral of that special student. She had never seen a serviceman in a military coffin before. He looked so handsome, so mature. The church was packed with his friends, and one by one, those who loved him took a last walk by the coffin. The teacher was the last one to bless the coffin. As she stood there, one of the soldiers who acted as pallbearer came up to her. "Were you Mark's math teacher?" he asked. She nodded yes. And then he said, "Mark talked about you a lot." After the funeral, most of Mark's former classmates went together to a luncheon. Mark's mother and father were there, obviously waiting to speak with his teacher. "We want to show you something," his father said, taking a piece of paper out of his wallet. "They found this on Mark when he was killed. We thought you might recognize it." Opening the billfold, he carefully removed 2 worn pieces of notebook paper that had obviously been taped, folded, and refolded many times. The teacher knew without looking that the papers were the ones in which she had listed all of the good things each of Mark's classmates had said about him. "Thank you so much for doing that," Mark's mother said. "You can see Mark treasured it." All of Mark's former classmates started to gather around. Charlie smiled rather sheepishly and said, "I still have my list. It's in the top drawer of my desk at home." Chuck's wife said, "Chuck asked me to put his in our wedding album." "I have mine too," Marilyn said. "It's in my diary." Then Vicky, another classmate, reached into her pocket took out her wallet and showed her worn and frazzled list to the group. "I carry this with me at all times," Vicky said. And without batting an eyelash, she continued, "I think we all saved our lists." And that's supposedly when the teacher finally sat down and cried. Now, I share this story with you all for two particular reasons. One is because it's true. The teacher is Sister Helen Morozla. She's a Franciscan nun. And the man, Mark, was Mark Eklund, who died in Vietnam. And so that's one of the reasons why I share that story. The second reason I share this story is because at the very moment, both Hanala and I, and actually for that matter, our producer Dorothy and Mark Lejour, we have a mutual friend who is in the hospital battling a debilitating disease. And as of word just a couple hours ago, and that I also shared with Hanala just before the show, our mutual friend, according to the doctors, has a few hours left to live. And so this story comes to mind also for two reasons, and one of them is because our friend's mother, his name is Bradley Quick, by the way, Bradley Quick's mother said that she had no idea that her son was so loved, that so many people have wanted to come visit, and so many people have come visit, even though they've actually put out on Facebook and let people know not to come because there have just been so many people. So a lot of people haven't come to see him or gone to see him, and yet even the few, quote unquote, that have already broken the record of how many people have seen a patient in that particular hospital. And so his mother said she had no idea that he was so loved. And the question comes up for me is, did Bradley know he was so loved? And could his condition have been helped by having known that love so deep inside of him before all of this came to pass? And so it's kind of a unique way of introducing our guest, especially a guest that I was so looking forward to having so much fun with, and I know that we still can, as we both are processing this real time here. And it's really appropriate because today, with 29 years of sobriety, our guest's lifelong codependency patterns are broken. And with over 50 million hits on YouTube to her channel, the beautiful star of the long-running hit TV show Shape Up LA has launched Traumedy Central Productions, Traumedy Central, where transformation happens with a laugh. And laugh is an acronym for love, acceptance, understanding, gratitude, and honesty. And with that, we welcome Hanala Sagal, actor, author, comedian, addiction expert, and TV host on our show. Welcome, Hanala.
Thanks, Filippo. I don't know how you got through that story, though. With that, I'm like crying, and I've got snot coming out my nose, and then. So first, you hit us with that amazing story of how one person can affect so many people in such a profound way. In a good way, because we know that it can happen in a bad way, you know, from Hitler to extreme narcissistic parents. We know that. So that to have someone to come in as an angel and do something so good that it would affect so many people, as in your story, and then to hit me with Bradley, I'm trying to do what I talk about, turning trauma. Well, Traumedy Central is, I call it, where the trauma turns. but normally you're given a little bit of time between the trauma and when you can laugh about it, like that expression, too soon. So this thing with Bradley, I'm doing my best to observe my grief, to feel my feelings, and also to maintain some function in my frontal lobes so I can talk to you.
I appreciate that, and on the one hand, I'm sorry to hit you with this, and then at the same time, like what we were talking about when we last saw each other at the Bel Air Film Festival that night, this is all happening real time. And so we are processing real time, and there's no coincidence that I just got word, and here we are live on radio. But let's do this. This is probably a great time to cut to commercial. Let's take a couple minutes, even though that's not enough. Let's regroup, and we'll be right back after this. Thanks,
all righty.
Are you like many people who want to make positive changes and improvements in your life and in the world around you? Do you ever feel like there's something holding you back from achieving your true potential? Join Stefan and Shaylee Shifidel with the Tad James Company, the world's largest NLP, coaching, timeline therapy, and hypnotherapy training institute. Get ready for a life-changing experience that will give you the tools to transform your life through positive change and will help you create the future you want now. Their training programs are designed to provide you with the revolutionary knowledge, skills, and techniques necessary to effectively create long-lasting and life-changing effects. Discover more about neurolinguistic programming and timeline therapy at www.nlpcoaching.com or call 888-440-4823. That's 888-440-4823.
There are self-help seminars costing thousands of dollars guaranteeing miraculous transformations. There are compelling speakers and life-changing weekend experiences where you can walk on fire. They all deliver revelations that guarantee you'll come back for the more expensive revelations filled with even greater wonder next month on Fiji. We get addicted to positive, heartfelt, expensive theater. What we really need is a jumpstart, an awakening. Someone who can give us a reminder that everything we need lies within. Through inspiration and practical knowledge, Dorothy Donahue helps people get grounded and motivated, inspired and energized. It's not just words and affirmations and the power of intention. It's a mindset brought about by a tangible, transcendental experience, an audio-visual, physical, spiritual experience that helps us realize we transform ourselves. We get tools to become the conscious co-creators of lives of unlimited potential. Find out more. Go to DorothyDonahue.com.
You are listening to Life Changes with Filippo on the BBS Radio Network with our host, Filippo Voltaggio. You can hear tonight's show and all our past shows, which include luminaries such as David Wilcock, Mariel Hemingway, Georgios Tsoukalos, Marcy Shimoff, and Shadow Stevens on our archive page at our website at lifechangeswithfilippo.com. That's Filippo, Filippo.com. Remember, you can also connect with us via Twitter and Facebook, and now in our own community at lifechangesnetwork.com, where real people come together to share real life in real time. That's lifechangesnetwork.com.
Talk about life changes. This is Filippo here on Life Changes with Filippo, and our guest today is Hanala Sagal. And of course, we've been hit with some news that has touched our heart, and here we are processing. And Hanala, I don't want to change the subject, but it is apropos. During some of my singing performances, I sometimes share that my immigrant parents who grew up in Italy, who went through World War II, I used to say at the dinner table that I didn't thankfully go through World War II, but every day at the dinner table it seemed like we were going through it every day by saying, if we only had this food during World War II, we wouldn't have complained like you do. So when I read the title of your book, it's bittersweet, I have to say, but I cracked up. My parents went through the Holocaust and all I got was this lousy T-shirt. How irreverent of you, but talk to me about it.
Well, a lot of people understand the experience Holocaust survivors had, but then they didn't really think about what happened to the survivors. You know, like it's after a war, we tend to forget about the vets. Well, I see them because I walk on the bluff here in Santa Monica, so I see the vets. But the shell shock, that was attributed to maybe soldiers going through the war, but the survivors of the Holocaust, the ones who lost their families, like my parents, they were basically told when they came, to the new country from the old country, that they should be grateful and they should just go on and not think about the war. So they kept it inside. And then, when there was the Vietnam War, we were introduced to the idea of post-traumatic stress disorder, that perhaps what happened in Poland didn't stay in Poland, that the Holocaust came over in boats, and it just lived on. It's like, you could take my father out of the camp, but you couldn't take the camp out of my father.
Yeah.
So I grew up with the idea of trying to help these poor traumatized people so that they could become better parents and take care of me, which set up a lifetime of codependency where I put myself second and them first, because they always said, they were the important ones. And I bought that because they could drive, they made money, they brought home food, they knew things, And my mother's very confusing. Like, she would come into my room in the middle of the night and say, "Hitler killed my whole family, but I have a daughter like you. You can't be nice." Huh? What? I don't understand. So everything.
I don't want to laugh.
Like with you. No, but you have to. That's why my mother was all about surviving with laughter. She turned a 5-year war into a 50-year story, and it was funny. It had a lot of humor in it. She said, how the daddy always had a little gas? And I'm like, yeah. She said, well, we didn't know, hiding in the hole in the forest, if it was the daddy or the Nazis.
Oh, no.
She'd hear a boom, 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 and that was, so my mother would have this weird sense of humor. So when I showed her my drawing that said, it was a little girl pulling her hair out, saying my parents went through the Holocaust and all I got was this lousy T-shirt, she laughed because she understood what that meant.
Wow. That
it was okay for her trauma to be talked about, but mine, trying to raise two traumatized people because they weren't, resolving their issues, that was not acceptable.
Wow. And I have so much compassion, period. But for people, well, for everybody, because we all go through things, certainly, and hopefully never to that kind of extreme. But for up until recently, we didn't talk about this stuff or didn't know how to process this stuff like we do now.
Didn't know. I think a lot of it is we don't know. Like right now, in this country, there's the them against us mentality. It's almost like we have to have an enemy. It's like I think what your show and what Bradley was all about, and certainly what I've been about, is trying to make friends with all of your own bits. I ask people, is there too much shame on you? What kind of inappropriate committee members do you have in your head that you're at war with? Because if you're busy hating yourself, you're going to pick someone outside yourself, because you can't just go around hating yourself. That's ridiculous. So if you're a Democrat, hate the Republicans. Republicans hate the Democrats. Whatever's around. We can all hate child molesters. Okay, yay. It's like we're always looking for someone out there to either, be against or be for us. And that kind of puts all the power on them. They can hurt us, they can save us, and the truth is when we realize that it's us. If you're having a really good time with someone, it's not that person. Usually it's because that person is bringing out the best in you. So how about being your own best friend? Talk to all your committee members and your brain bits so that there's no unfinished hateful thoughts in your head. Everybody get along, and there's less hate, and there's more love. And I don't know about your past, but mine was I I'm 29 years sober, almost 30 years sober, because I learned how to accept myself and try to understand myself. Being an addict, when I was using and drinking, I was trying to kill the parts of myself I hated. And what I did was I learned to examine them and to investigate them. And now I've replaced the life I hated with one I love.
Wow. And you got a good committee on your side now?
Yeah, but you have to be willing to do the hard thing. It's like, I was in an 18-year relationship with a man who was so busy in his own head he could never really see me, and that was my parents. It's like, honey, I shrunk my parents, and then I married them. Mm. And, I had to leave him. I knew I did, but it was so painful. But the thing is, you have to be willing to do, to do the hard thing once, then live the hard way every day.
Wow. You've been working.
I've been taking a lot of leaps in faith. There's no net, but I think, if you leap, the net appears. If you stay safe, the net's kind of like over your head. You don't know it, but you're like a little fish trapped in a net. A cute little dolphin just doesn't even know. But, it's like if once you realize that you have the power, I believe that God speaks through other people. Addiction is the disease of isolation. We tend to be alone. And how do we hear God's word? Like talking to you right now, me reaching out. It's kind of like we're points of energy, and you and I are connecting the dots. And I think that that's what we're meant to do, connect. And if you're not connected, it's kind of like you're not connected if you're like a lamp. And you're not connected to the wall, the light cannot come on. So you just have to plug in, turn on, and connect. But a lot of people don't do that because they're protecting themselves. They're staying home where it's safe, and our protections often become the enemy.
And I like that, Hanala, because when sometimes, a lot of people don't know, and this is my current belief, that what's outside of us or what's playing out outside of us is really what's playing out inside of us, which is what you were saying about the committee. Crazy if you're going around hating yourself, but if you can hate these people out there, then you're not crazy, because those people are crazy. So,
and they're total idiots. And let me I'm going to try and explain to them what an idiot they are. So here are all these intelligent people. Let me tell you, what happened in Germany? In Germany and Poland, do you think the Germans and Poland were a bunch of idiots? No. They were German people were about as educated and bright and talented as they come, and yet they allowed themselves to believe that Jews were like rats that needed to be exterminated. Now, what, did they suddenly get stupid? No, but the brain it's so easily molded. You have to be so careful. If we think an average of 60,000 thoughts a day, most are what we thought yesterday. We'll think them again tomorrow. Be careful what habits you create, because your habits will have you. So it's like I try to expose myself. I try to only I don't put garbage in my living room, and I don't put garbage in my head. I have a beautiful view of the ocean. I had two friends here the other day who were telling me that apparently a tsunami is coming that will obliterate my home. And I'm like, you guys, other people's minds, do you realize who you're talking to? Do you realize, here I'm watching the most gorgeous sunset. The clouds are turning billowy colors. God is speaking. And these two are telling me what the devil is saying is coming, And I'm like, okay, here's where we go into the power of now. And unfortunately, these are both spiritual teachers, one who doesn't speak to her daughter or her mother, and the other one who's so busy teaching he can't learn anything. So, sometimes the people who need to learn, they're the ones who are like all preachy. Just understand, if someone's in your face telling you how you should be, they're just really out of control, and they can't do it to themselves, so they're going to try and do it to you.
That old adage that we teach what we most need to learn, and it's actually a good way to learn, because you're really... Yeah. And I don't know if everybody actually does learn that way, but...
Well, I think you have to have a certain amount of humility, which means teachability. To understand that we we know less than we know. I mean, there's so much we don't know. You know, I'm learning all the time. Mostly, I've learned how that even with 29 years of sobriety, one more time, I acted out my codependent behavior because certain things happened in my life. I was married for 18 years, and my husband started to drink. And let me tell you one thing right now: if you're married and you're doing a remodel on your home, never go with the lowest bid.
That'll drive you to drink.
Okay. If you've learned one thing today, let it be that, okay? And never buy the first version of any phone because, you know, in a minute, like what happened to me? I went to my 12-step meeting, and I'm sitting there. The guy is texting next to me, which doesn't bother me. But the thing is, he's got the new version of my phone. It's smaller, but with a bigger screen, faster, and a better camera. And now I'm really ready to drink.
And only a couple months after you bought yours. Hanala, I'm going to interrupt you.
How did you know?
Yeah, right? Because that's the story. Anyway, we're going to continue, not necessarily that particular story, but I do want to talk about Traumedy Central when we come back, because that's exactly what you're doing right here with us and helping us all. So we're talking to Hanala Sagal, and I am Filippo Voltaggio here on Life Changes with Filippo.
Listen to these words. He would not be beat by forces too fierce for man, woman, or beast. As the going got tougher, his courage increased. It's a little story with a big message, a message that speaks to children of all ages. It's about believing in yourself, overcoming obstacles, and never giving up. It's been called a masterpiece, one of the finest children's books ever written, and a true children's classic. Shadoe Stevens has been called Dr. Seuss for the 21st century. His big little book, The Big Galoot, is a story about bullying. Bullying has become an American epidemic, and The Big Galoot talks about it in a way that will touch the heart of a child of 4 and a grandfather of 104. It's the story of a little boy with size 42 hands, the biggest hands anyone has ever seen, and the kids laugh at him. Then the laughter turns mean. They mock him and trip him, and much worse. But throughout it all, Warren Galoot says, "I'm a galoot, but I have good luck. You can't get me down. I never give up." A second grader named Chandler said, "I thought it was the best funny book I have seen in my life." And we agree. Whoopi Goldberg said, "This is a great story. Bravo, Shadoe." The Big Galoot is available now as an ebook exclusively on Kindle Fire on Amazon for only $3.98. We strongly urge you to get it for your children, your children's children, or as a gift to yourself. Its message speaks to all of us. Have good luck and never give up. Go to Amazon.com and search for The Big Galoot by Shadoe Stevens. Life Changes with Filippo is a premier radio show presented by Life Changes Network, which is a company whose team has dedicated their lives not only to positive change, but to helping others observe and embrace, honor, and even celebrate their own changes, thus enabling a more positive, inspired life and helping to create a more positive and inspired world. From everyday people to corporate giants, celebrities, and children, we are here to help and to serve. With heart and experience, we bring our message and positive intent into your home or corporate office, and even through appearances on your favorite shows. If you wish to learn more about Life Changes life coaching and a private consultation with one of us, corporate event appearances, or if you would like us to appear on your radio or TV shows, visit lifechangeswithfilippo.com and click on our representation page. You are listening to Life Changes with Filippo on the BBS Radio Network with your host, Filippo Voltaggio. You can visit us online via Twitter and Facebook and at lifechangeswithfilippo.com. That's Filippo, Filippo.
And this is Filippo, and this is Life Changes with Filippo, having a great conversation with Hanala Sagal, actor, author, comedian, addiction expert, and TV host herself. She's got a lot of messages, and one of them is you can be fabulous at any age, regardless of your past. And by way of this show, she's telling us and showing us we can be fabulous no matter what's happening in your life. We're going to talk now about comedy or Traumedy Central Productions, which she uses to transform what happens with a laugh. And LAUGH is an acronym for love, acceptance, understanding, gratitude, and honesty. We're going to talk about that, but you can go to TraumadyCentral.com and learn more about this after the show at Traumedy, Traumedy, Central.com. Did I say that right? Traumedy.
You did, yeah. Traumedy. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you, Hanala, can I say really quick? This is reminding me of something when people look, like when I have a client and who's overweight or who doesn't like her body or her face or whatever, and using just an affirmation like, you know, oh, I love myself or I love my body, sometimes doesn't work, and maybe most of the time, right?
Yeah, because, you know, what happens, you have to be real, because what happens is the body goes, yeah, please give me a break. You're trying to lie to me,
exactly.
The holder of the truth.
Exactly. So what I say to them is pick one thing. Like even if it's your fingernail, if you have one particular fingernail that's just like the best fingernail in the world, then say, I love my fingernail. Start there. So what you and I are doing here is we've had some news that is affecting us emotionally. And yet we're finding something to try and bring some balance, because the more balanced we are, the better we're able to help ourselves, help other people, and even our friend who's going through the issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Bringing us back to our poor friend who's done nothing but try and make the world a better place, and now is leaving the world because he has cancer. Why do these things happen? Hell if we know. The point is that, you know, my mother used to say, and my mother would know, she was a Holocaust survivor, and she said, life is like a roller coaster, up and down, especially for her because she was manic depressive as well. But up and down and up and down. And, you know, she would I'll tell you something. My mother was visiting in Los Angeles from Montreal when the lead story on every news show was they were sending ships from around the world to free 2 whales who were stuck up in the ice in Alaska. My mother and I are sitting there eating cheese danishes that she brought from Montreal because it was what we did, which is why I used to weigh 160 pounds, and one of the reasons. And she said, look, to save 2 whales, the whole world comes. To save 6 million Jews, nobody came. And I said, yeah, Ma, because, you know, the world likes whales. But see, that's the kind of dialogue I used to have with my mother, that Eastern European Jewish down-to-earth reduction sauce type of speaking. It is a crazy world, and we have to look at it in a way that helps us get out the front door. Because I have a thing in my head that says, stay home. You know, I've been in car accidents. You think it's so easy for me to jump in my car? I've tried I had a tank at one point, a Range Rover, and a lovely parting gift from my husband. You see, if you play it right, you end up with cash and prizes. But that doesn't make you happy. But I have had so many challenges going out there. Even in my $85,000 car, I could not get in that car. After 5 years, it had 25,000 miles on it because I was petrified to go out. We all have these things that we're dealing with in our heads. You know, we have to make ourselves feel comfortable so we go out into the world and we soften our hearts. You know, a soft heart is harder to break, where we have more compassion for ourselves. I saw a bumper sticker once that said, the beatings will continue until morale improves. We have to stop the beatings and realize that we have to be our own best friend out there. It's not what they say to us. It's not what they do to us. It's how we deal with what they say. It's what we say to ourselves after what they say. A lot of people take an element of truth, something negative, and something to like snag you, and wrap it up in a big lie and tell you you are less than who you are and you shouldn't be who you are. And it takes everything in you to not get snagged, make your own kind of music, and sing your own special song. to quote Mama Cass.
Yeah.
Another person who had a problem with food like me. But I wanted to say, too, of the 25 years that I taught fitness classes, I was always trying to take off that last, 10 pounds. And it's only in the past 4 years that and I stopped teaching 2 years ago, that I've maintained my goal weight, that I took off the weight and kept it off. And I realized less is more. If you feed your soul, you're less likely to go to the fridge to fill that void. And also I learned how to slow down. I do all my exercises now, most of them, on one leg. And I find that now, at this age, with 30 years of sobriety, and I didn't get sober when I was 4, I have a firmer ass and abs than when I was teaching fitness classes and doing that TV show.
Oh, that's saying a lot.
Traumedy Central. As Deepak Chopra said, do less, show more.
Speaking of Traumedy Central, actually, I went, when was it, a week or so ago, I'm like, I haven't had a chance to look at any of Hanala's stuff lately, and so I went and I saw your stuff. I mean, at one point you're practically playing peekaboo with the camera, and then at another, I mean, you're cracking me up, and it's because you're frickin' real. And fabulous at the same time, and that's not a word I use often.
Oh, well, if you like me, you would have loved my mother. She was very real. So's my father. I remember my father said to me, he died a couple of years ago, but he was visiting here once, and he said, he was looking at me, teaching a fitness class afterwards. He said, "You remember when I told you were fat like a pig?" Because he was thinking that motivated me to lose the weight. In actuality, when he said that, I actually went for more food. But I said, yeah, Daddy, I remember. It has a website in my head, fatlikeapig.com. But he meant well, he meant well.
Yeah, and actually that you bring up one good point, and maybe we'll end here, but that is so important. It's like you said, that we take maybe something that has an element of truth that other people say, and then we make up this big story to put ourselves down. And yet, in his mind, he was trying to motivate you. And if we really, really knew that, then it wouldn't matter what he says. It's the love and the motivation that we could see.
But kids take things personally, unfortunately.
Right.
And that's why parents need to realize what they say has maybe a different impact.
Oh, absolutely. So, but now we're grown up, right? Quote unquote.
And so we can reparent ourselves, which is what I've done. If you have to break for commercial, but remind me about Hung. That is a good story about Hung.
I was hoping we could do that so you can give me the juicy details outside the show, but we got one more minute together, so let's do Hung right now.
All right. Well, check this out. I quit show business because I got sick of being rejected for a living, but then I sent out an email to a bunch of agents saying, got MILF with my picture. And so I got an agent. He sends me out for one audition for my favorite TV show, Hung. And so I was shaking at the makeup table before going to the audition. I said to myself, oh, my gosh. Okay, little girl, what's going on? And she went, excuse me, what? You're paying attention? I don't have to make you have a panic attack or sweat or anything? I'm like, no. I'm listening. What's going on? And she said, are you going to beat me if I suck at the audition? And I went, oh, my gosh, good point. I have been a lousy mother to you, haven't I? Well, how about this? How about if we go thinking the most important thing is not getting the part? That would be great. But the most important thing is that we sleep well tonight. How about that? Well, she had doubts. But after the audition, I was walking down the hall, and I said to myself, well, that wasn't very Meryl Streep-ish. And then I caught myself. I remembered my promise to my little girl. And I said, you know what? Maybe it was good enough. And it was, because I got the part, and I did really well.
That's a great story. I knew there was something in that Hung show that I needed to talk to you about. We had Hanala Sagal on the show, and we got more than a lousy T-shirt.
Nice. Thank you, Filippo. My pleasure.
You and I are going to have lots more to talk about, and I look forward to when we can do this again and again. In the meantime, I want to...
Thank you.
You're welcome. In the meantime, I want to refer people to Dramedy Central, where you could laugh some more and learn some more from Hanala Sagal at Dramedy, TRAUMEDY Central.com. Hanala, you have, under all the circumstances, you still find a way to have a fabulous day like you've helped us do right now.
Thank you.
Love you. Ciao.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you later, and we'll be right back with our producer, Mark Lejeune, for the Producer's Wrap right after this.
Are you achieving your highest potential? Do you know what that looks like? Louise Ashby Life Coaching makes it a mission to bring balance and abundance to every area of your life, giving you the opportunity to do and be all that you've dreamed. Anything is possible if you just believe. Contact author and motivational speaker Louise Ashby for your complimentary session and see if her individualized style is for you. You can email Louise at louiseashby.org. That's LOUISEASHBY.org, or telephone 323-592-3181. That's Louise at louiseashby.org, or telephone 323-592-3181.
There are self-help seminars costing thousands of dollars guaranteeing miraculous transformations. There are compelling speakers and life-changing weekend experiences where you can walk on fire. They all deliver revelations that guarantee you'll come back for the more expensive revelations filled with even greater wonder next month on Fiji. We get addicted to positive, heartfelt, expensive theater. What we really need is a jumpstart, an awakening. Someone who can give us a reminder that everything we need lies within. Through inspiration and practical knowledge, Dorothy Donahue helps people get grounded and motivated, inspired and energized. It's not just words and affirmations and the power of intention. It's a mindset brought about by a tangible, transcendental experience, an audio-visual, physical, spiritual experience that helps us realize we transform ourselves. We get tools to become the conscious co-creators of lives of unlimited potential. Find out more. Go to DorothyDonahue.com.
Life Changes with Filippo is a premier radio show presented by Life Changes Network, which is a company whose team has dedicated their lives not only to positive change, but to helping others observe and embrace, honor, and even celebrate their own changes, thus enabling a more positive, inspired life and helping to create a more positive and inspired world. From everyday people to corporate giants, celebrities, and children, we are here to help and to serve. With heart and experience, we bring our message and positive intent into your home or corporate office, and even through appearances on your favorite shows. If you wish to learn more about Life Changes Life Coaching and a private consultation with one of us, corporate event appearances, or if you would like us to appear on your radio or TV shows, visit lifechangeswithfilippo.com and click on our representation page.
Well, we're back. And this is Filippo and our Producer's Wrap with Mark Lejeune here on Life Changes with Filippo. And so because of today's schedule and so much going on and Bradley being sick and all and our producer wanting to be at the hospital, et cetera, and everybody's schedules, we recorded the first part of this show, the interview with Hanala, earlier in the afternoon. And of course, during that time, we knew that Bradley was on his last leg, so to speak. And now here we are at the Producer's Wrap live with all of you. And Mark, you have some news for us.
Yeah, Filippo. Well, Bradley, our friend has certainly been a true champion for changing others' lives, and I know he's done that for us in so many ways. And unfortunately, we we got the news that his life has changed and that he has moved on just in the past few hours. And to honor him and everything he stood, stands, and now flies for, I thought maybe it would be nice if we could take a moment of silence and say a prayer and send him some love. So please join me. Bradley, you will be missed by the entire Life Changes team, and we look forward to our journey with you. And on the other side, as we know you're always present with us as we continue on with this journey here on this side. So, Filippo?
Thank you for that, Mark, and thank you, Bradley. Well, when I said this show would be interesting, I just didn't know just how interesting it was going to be. And kind of like the prayer vigil that our producer Dorothy had for Bradley just a few days ago. She asked me to say a few words, and I thought it was appropriate to talk about his Cool Change Foundation and all that he wanted to do and did with the Cool Change Foundation. And I actually got on the podium there, and I didn't expect it. You know, I'm a speaker, and I'm a performer, and I can hold my emotions. And I got up there, and I looked at all these beautiful people that had gathered to wish him well while he was still alive, to let him know that they loved him and to give him energy. And it was one of the most beautiful things I had seen, and I lost it. But, wow.
Well, that's a true testament to who Bradley is and how many people he's touched. And it wasn't always the easiest journey for him. Talk about somebody who has embodied change and life's changes, and now has moved on in the truest of life change from one aspect of his self to the next. So that is beautiful. Thank you, Filippo.
Yeah. And one of the things that I thought would be interesting was to share how the Cool Change Foundation got named Cool Change. And Bradley had shared it with me many times. And the name itself came from the Little River Band that wrote a song called The Cool Change. And so at that prayer vigil, I wanted to either play the song or play a video of the song or sing it myself. But we were told in that particular chapel that we couldn't have music. So I read the lyrics, and I won't read them all now, but I think it's kind of interesting. It starts like this. If there's one thing in my life that's missing, it's the time that I spend alone, sailing on the cool and bright, clear water. Lots of those friendly people, and they're showing me ways to go, and I never want to lose their inspiration. Time for a cool change. I know that it's time for a cool change. And now that my life is so prearranged, I know that it's time for a cool change. Well, he's made many cool changes, and now he's changed himself.
We'll miss you, Bradley. And what a fitting way to honor and respect everything that he's done and who Bradley has been to us and to so many people around him. To have this show and the discussion with Hanala today as evidence of that type of lasting impact and shared journey.
Yeah, and you know, Mark, as you know, during the show, we talked with Hanala about Traumedy Central and how this is right here, right now, as Bradley would actually say, in the moment, happening to us as we are changing right now, as we are experiencing this. And I have to say, you know, I realize that death happens at any age to anybody, but as we get older, one might think it might happen more often, and I'd love to find a way or a closer to a celebration than what I'm feeling now.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you bring this up because it's something that I'm passionate about. I really think that so many native tribes have an interesting and different way to celebrate loss, and I think it's because they recognize the connectedness and that the loss is a transition rather than an end, which is what we believe so often. We, meaning the Western world, believes, and has so much fear and sorrow around it. And of course, the loss is painful, the loss of that person's presence physically right there with you day by day. But I think it's easier to find a place of celebration when you realize that it's a transition and that we all continue on and that we'll get to spend time together as we move forward. And that we'll see Bradley again. And like I said, I know I'm expecting and looking forward to those moments where something funny and quirky happens, and I know it's going to be his personality and his energy coming through to shake the tree a little bit and let me know, I'm going to give you a little ribbing, Mark. I'm still here. That to me is certainly a way of celebrating.
If it's funny and quirky, it's Bradley. Actually what you said, I really take to heart, and it reminds me of something that I read about the Aborigines in Australia, that supposedly in an Aboriginal tribe, when a baby is born, the tribe gets together and encircles the mother and the child or the baby and says something along the lines of, welcome. We're happy you came. We're glad you're joining us on this journey, and we look forward to what's to come ahead. And the kicker is this: that supposedly, when somebody is about to transition, they supposedly gather around and encircle the person and say almost exactly the same thing. Thank you for having traveled this journey with us. And we look forward to the next part of the journey together. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. Hopefully we'll get to be more connected with that process and be able to celebrate each other's journeys and recognize that transition, across the greater whole of society. And but for now, we celebrate Bradley and his life change, and his life change, and his passing and our dear friendship with him.
Right. And I want to acknowledge that our producer, Dorothy, was with him and his mother at his bedside as he passed, and that she's still there now, so not able to be with us here to have this moment in celebration of Bradley right now, but I want to thank her for keeping us informed and actually being the one to introduce him to us, and Shadow Stevens for introducing Bradley to her. So grateful for the time we've had together, right, Mark?
Indeed, very grateful.
Well, thank you, Mark, for walking me through this as well. I'm grateful for you, period, and this. And I thank our engineer, Doug Newson, today for piecing this show all together for us while we were trying to be there with our friend and all. And here we are. So Thank you all for being with us through our life change. And remember, as life changes, we're there for you. Charbu.
We're there for you.
You have been listening to Life Changes with Filippo with the Master of Change, Filippo Voltaggio. Listen live every Monday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the BBS Radio Network and visit us online at lifechangeswithfilippo.com. That's Filippo, Filippo. Today's show has been made possible in part by our sponsors, Ionways Water Systems, Change Your Water, Change Your Life, and Love and Miracles with Dorothy Lee Donahue. To learn more about them, visit the sponsor page of our website. Once again, join us here next week as we consciously explore and embrace the only constant, life changes.
Change the